everyone who is watching this webinar through the Live from Science Facebook page as well as for Zoom. My name is Luis Ventura. I'm a Mexico-based contributor for the Live from Science, and today I will serve as host for this webinar, where we are going to talk about the consequences of restricting GM crops in Mexico. A little background of what we are going to talk about in this webinar is that Mexican farmers, scientists, and consumers are facing the uncertain implications of a new national policy, which is designated to banning the import and cultivation of genetically modified maize, as well as another essential crops in Mexico. So Mexico's president framed this decree as a way to support the sustainable agriculture and improve the quality of life of farmers. But it's becoming apparent that the banning of scientific innovation for the country's fields will have a significant consequences on productivity, as well as food prices and policies. In this webinar is with us as panelists, a fifth-generation Mexican farmer, Gina Gutierrez, and Mexican economist, Fernando Cruz Rodriguez. We're going to discuss about the most highlight impacts on this decree. And I would like to give a space for one of each of those panelists to quick present themselves and to give like a 2-minute presentation. So Gina, boom, hello.
Ladies first.
Thank you, Luis. Great introduction. Thank you for being here. Nice to meet you, Fernando. We haven't met in person. I'm Gina Gutierrez. I'm a 5th-generation dairy farmer based in central Mexico. I'm part of Global Farmer Network. I was awarded the Kleckner Award in 2018. And last year, I was named by Global Dairy Platform as a dairy ambassador.
Thank you, Gina. Fernando, please.
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting us, Luis, Joan. My name is Fernando Cruz. I'm senior partner at GCMA. It's a consultant firm based in Mexico. Our scope is on market information, grains, all about and transversal to the agriculture and agribusiness, not only in Mexico, it's worldwide, the information we got. So we are glad to be here.
Yeah, thank you for the both of you for accepting this invitation and to join the discussions. And as I said, we are going to talk about the consequences that we, as Mexican, and most important, we are, as in the case of Gina, as farmers, and more important in the case of the economic perspective, what consequences we will have with this presidential decree that is expected to ban the cultivation as well as the cultivation of GM crops in Mexico. So the first part of this webinar, I hope that we can discuss a little bit about what is happening right now. This measure was taken, I think, at the end of 2020, just in December. So what is happening over the last year about this discussion about what is the consequences that the farmers are currently facing? So what you can tell us about it, Gina?
Well, as far as consequences, I think the most important one is the uncertainty that a decree like this has created, because the language hasn't been clear, the communications haven't been very precise about what's happening and what is not happening. But the decree is very clear, and the ideas that the government has are very set in stone, I think, and that's worrisome, because the uncertainty, I'm gonna go back to that, is that as farmers, we don't know what will happen tomorrow, and the government with a decree like this, they can just come out with something else tomorrow and disrupt everything that we're doing. And I think another consequence is that they're preventing farmers from using a technology that is safe, that has been researched for decades. And it's like, if there was a decree like that prevented many people the use of computers, for example, they just are the prohibition of technology in any area is unjustified, and to do it in farming, that creates disadvantages for the farmers in comparison to other countries that do allow their farmers to produce with some technological tools. And governments are supposed to be very practical and make sure that both their farmers are doing a good job. And for doing so, we need access to technology, access to different tools, access to information, financial services, extension services. We need a lot of things and inputs to do our work. And governments should also make sure that the rest of the population are getting enough food, that it's high quality, that is available, that it's priced right. So preventing farmers to access tools that come from technology, even if it's genetic engineering, they prevent us, both farmers and consumers, to do a better job. They prevent us to ensure food security, and they affect other industries as well. The ban in Mexico also contemplates cotton. So we are affecting other industries as well. And as a dairy farmer myself, preventing livestock farmers to access imports from other countries that are genetically modified or genetically engineered also creates a disruptions in the markets and in our job. And they're just complicating things for us. So governments should be very practical about it, but they're making our job harder, even harder than it is.
Thank you. Fernando, what can you tell us about something more from the economic point of view?
Yes, if you don't mind, I want to present some slides that I have our company present in another webinars. That could be, first of all, context of what happened here in Mexico and how it will affect the decisions of the public policy here in Mexico. Well, I have these slides that probably, are you looking at your screen? Yes, okay. First, as you said in the last moment, a few moments ago, the last year, the president of Mexico enacted a decree that ban or prohibits the import of GMOs, and they ban the seed to produce GMOs like maize, cotton, soybean, and another. But also mix the decree with the prohibition to use glyphosate and enact a transition period until 24 to avoid or prohibit the complete importation of glyphosate. Okay, but there is some reality. So in transgenic maize here in Mexico, that was always prohibited. Yeah, here in Mexico, we don't produce maize based on GMO, but it don't affect or don't offer, was one of the problems of the decree. Don't offer an affordable substitute to glyphosate. It's one of the economic problems that the decree has. And the decree, as Gina said, it has a reduction, it's quite ambiguous on the wording, and create loopholes. Loopholes that today, all the growers here in Mexico don't have they don't know what to do in the next years if they can also import seeds for producing soybean or producing cotton. And also it will harm the chain value of cotton to probably jeans, or to the soybean industry to oil, or to the meat or the cattle feed. They will affect all the chain value here. The next thing I want to talk about is about what's the difference between a native and a hybrid and GMO. Native seeds are those obtained through the ancient practice used by many farmers to select their harvest seed, and they will use to the next sowing. The hybrid seeds, on the other hand, are the result when they plant and fertilize another seed genetically unrelated to the first. In other words, a female plant is crossed with a male plant that produces a hybrid seed. The GMO, those are obtained or has been modified through scientific practice. This is present the genome certain genes that they don't have in the natural state. GMO, the definition of the GMO seeds, those are the ones that the government tried to ban or prohibit here in Mexico. But as I told you before, hybrid seeds here in Mexico are used probably since the 1960s to produce maize and other kind of crops. Talking about the production here in Mexico. Here in Mexico, we are the first country in the world that produces white maize. But contrary to the world, 95% of the global production of maize is yellow. Only 5% is white. Here in Mexico, we produce 88% of white maize and import and produce 12%. Mexico has became the first, the last year was the first, this year is the second importer of maize in the world. Why? Why? Because we use the yellow maize to feed the cattle here in Mexico, you know, poultry, cows, milk, to obtain meat, pork, to feed the porks. So we use the yellow one that is cheaper than the white one to create or to increase the value of the meat chain of value. So here in Mexico, we are in the case of white maize, we are self-sufficient with the production, and we can assure the complete consumption of white maize for human consumption. So when we import yellow one, that at this decree prohibit probably, it's not really clear. The import of yellow maize to cattle the feed is really that what they want. They are probably, as I told you before, they are going to cause a big harm to the chain of value of protein production here in Mexico. The next one, what happened with the seed and the production of maize using hybrid seeds here in Mexico? As we can see on the y-axis, we can see the yield obtained per hectare, average yield. There are some places here in Mexico during the autumn winter cycle that we can obtain 14 tons per hectare. On the x-axis, the beans are represent the cumulative total production during the cycle. As we can see, we have better yields sometimes than in the United States that uses GMO, and probably in Brazil or in Argentina or probably in Europe using hybrid technology. But what happened in the spring-summer cycle? You can see that the variation between the yields from the top one that probably will be around 13 tons per hectare to the lowest places that could be around 2.5 or 1.5 tons per hectare. There is a big challenge for the producers that they can afford probably, or they have some problems with the sizes of the plot and the economic of scale and the capability to obtain hybrid seeds. And if we talk about if we have GMO or transgenic seeds, probably they could be increased in the short term, probably in the middle ones from the 4 tons to 6 tons. They can double the productions in the short term. So they can also create more value for the chain of value of grain, mass from the cattle, or between all the agronomic system or the ecosystem here in Mexico, that we are not having the chances to produce more. Well, about glyphosate. Glyphosate is it's an herbicide that it's common use. Probably if with the spectators look at the I don't know, your garden, you will see that probably you have a glyphosate called Roundup in your garden. That's really common use, and you have probably been used for your entire life, probably if you are in the gardening. But in the agronomic system, The glyphosate is used to prevent the growth of weeds or wheat, preventing from the production of certain proteins necessary for the growth. And also the weeds compete with water, with the sunlight and nutrition from the soils. So the glyphosate is one alternative, cheap alternative to produce crops like maize. And it's also used by the 45% of the agriculture here in Mexico. We have chat. Okay, sorry. In Mexico, we can use more than 30 crops use glyphosate as corn, maize, sorghum, cotton, sugarcane, coffee, avocados, among others. Farmers applying herbicides that can produce 25% more compared with no glyphosate practice. And higher production is equal to higher incomes and 25% or 30% compared who don't use. So the decree also prohibit the use of glyphosate and impact in decreasing the income of the growers here in Mexico. We also got some estimations about what happened if the here in Mexico prohibit the use of glyphosate in the short term. We can probably lose like 600 tons per year, 700,000 tons per year of the production just in the case of maize. So if we are the second largest importer in the world, importing 70 million tons per year, increase probably 1 million more in the next year with the prohibit or the ban of the use of glyphosate. That's all I have to say at the first at this moment.
Yeah, thank you. And I think that is very interesting. And I would like to take one of the slides that you previously shared with us, where you was presenting us that maybe sometimes we could yield more maize in Mexico using conventional maize. I mean, that some of the GMO maize use in United States, but it only happens in some special conditions, and will be like the ideal scenario for us to have access to all the tools that are available in the market. And some of the things that are doing this decree is to limit it to farmers and limited to consumers to have access to new tools, and for example, in the case of consumer, to have access to more availability of food, and at the end, it will be reflecting the price. So now I would like to ask the both of you is, I know that you might be familiar with the decree and what it says, and maybe if taking as an hypothetical case, and if the decree is adopted as is written with the characteristics that just Fernando shared with us about the ban to GM crops, about the ban to glyphosate, and about what it could mean not only in the domestic economic and the domestic production, but also with another policies as the new NAFTA that is happening with North America. That also I've been aware that there's some discussions happening with some exporters from US and Canada. So what could be like the consequences if the decree is endorsed and accepted as is written, and the deadline is applied by 2024, and Mexico is not able to receive more imports of GMAs, and able to use any kind of glyphosate, and the continue of GM maize moratorium continues in the country, as is happening over the last, I think that at least 10 years, that is not available to for scientists to make tests in the fields with GMAs. So what can you tell us about this, Gina?
Talk about disruption of the whole food system in Mexico. First of all, yes, we are self-sufficient in white corn. That is the one that we consume, and what many people think is the base of the Mexican diet. And yes, it is, but no, it isn't as well. It was many years ago, white corn was the base of our diet, but now we have changed. Globalization, the opportunities that is generated for every single industry, starting from food systems, it's amazing. We have been able to bring food from areas of plenty to areas of scarcity. And that's the case in many, many places in Mexico, where small scale farmers that don't have a really good share of land, and they have a little share of land, of course they will want to be more productive, not just to be able to yield more for putting their product in the market, but being self-sufficient as well. And many people are concerned that GM technology will put aside our native seeds, like the ones that Fernando explained. But we have to keep an open mind that this is just a tool, that this is not the only solution, but it will help, and studies shows us that. And to prevent farmers and to use those tools, and even to prevent a whole country from getting those products into the country, the disruption will be, I think, catastrophic. Until we're not self-sufficient, we should be able to bring from other countries what we need, and to be very practical about it, like I was saying in my first intervention, because when feeding the people, and especially a growing population, we cannot be picky, well, as picky as we want. We cannot from the US or Argentina, and we have to be practical. We have to, like I was saying, to be able to bring food from areas of plenty to areas of scarcity. And Mexico is very good at producing other foods. So we also take advantage of that, and we export a lot of food to other countries, especially the US, especially fruits. And our production also reaches Europe and Asia and Africa, the Middle East, even Oceania. So why wouldn't we take advantage? Also copy what they're doing, copy the best practices that are in other countries, just as they copy practices that we have here. Recently, I learned that investors went to Michoacán, where the avocado is produced. The major production of avocados is in Mexico, and they learn how to do it so they can do that production, the same system in other countries. And why not are we taking advantage of the knowledge and especially technology that is being used in other places and do it here? We have to feed a growing population, and we're not be able to do it if we close our minds and just say no to safe technology that is also affordable for farmers, because maybe by using these technologies, they won't use as many inputs as they use now. Other agrochemicals that...
Yes, I think that we are losing Gina for a moment. So maybe you want to share with us what you think, and we can go back to Gina.
Well, first of all, when I started my degree in economics, the first lesson that I got in the school was, if you have some problem producing something, import. Because all the countries in the world specialize on what they do better, on what they are best. Here in Mexico, we have an advantage, as Gina told a few minutes ago, producing fruits and vegetables that are also exported all year round to the United States. In the case of grains, hi Gina, welcome back.
Sorry.
Let me close this idea, and I'll let you to continue. So I was telling you that when you are having some structural problems like here we have in Mexico, we have the size of the plot are less than 5 hectares per grower in the case of grains. The use or the availability of irrigation system here in Mexico is less than the 30% of the total surface. The use of hybrid seeds are in between the 59% or less of the total units of production. The use of technology, probably like a caterpillar or something like that, or are probably 40% of the total surface. So we have a lot of problems here in Mexico that don't allow us to be economic efficient on the production on grains. That's talking about the complete agriculture, grain agriculture here in Mexico. We have so many examples that could be like better in the production of grains, like in Sinaloa or Chihuahua, that they are top producers, they have access to technology, they have plots that could be around 500 hectares, they have access to credit or to finance, they invest on technology, they invest on many things, and they are really chained with the principal consumer of grains here in Mexico. So keeping around of this idea, if the government ban all the kind of or the tools that the growers use to produce to increase the yields, so it will harm all the economy. So and the growth of the GDP during the last 10 years in the agri-food sector grown twice as fast as the complete economy here in Mexico. So if we every year grow 2% per year, the agri-food sector was growing like 5%. So if you take all the tools away from the growers, how it harm to the protein value chain value, that only the size of the value of this is the probably 45% of the total GDP of agri-food system. So it's really harmful to quit or to avoid the import of grain produced with GMO, or ban the use of technology GMO here in Mexico, or to ban the use of glyphosate, will harm only the 40% of the value of the GDP in the agri sector of Mexico. That's a huge impact that probably the person that decide to enact this public policy don't see in the short term. How would they harm not only the growers, the grain producers, also the cattle, all the value of chain of protein, and also the whole economy, because they also, if they decrease the production of protein or the grains, the prices will increase and the consumer will suffer, and the poor person here in Mexico will suffer more. So go on, Gina, you were saying.
Oh, so sorry about that. I don't know what happened. Technology is not my friend at all. I would just want to continue saying that lately we have been taught to be polarizing. And this has been a subject that has created, two opposite sides. And I think we have to find a middle ground. And I wanted to quote, you had in Alliance for Science, a webinar where Dr. Lawrence Haddad and His Excellency Ambassador Miguel Garcia Winter, that is the ambassador of Mexico to the Rome-based agencies, they were saying a lot of things that were very interesting and very that catched a lot of my attention, because Ambassador Garcia said that talk about regulation, and we do regulate a lot of substances that are necessary, good for our body, alcohol, cigarettes, and the fact that they use that same rhetoric because it has been proven that GM technology and glyphosate are safe for human use and for human consumption, you know, if you use it properly, everything else is regulated. So instead of prohibiting something, why not regulate it? And we have to find that middle ground, because it's not only, it's not one or another. We have to think about how to integrate this new technology, you know, and that's in air quotes because it isn't new, it is just evolving, but it has been here for many, many years. And we have to see how it can coexist in Mexico with our native systems and our traditional methods, because it's not one or the other. We have to regulate to be able to use a safe and affordable technology for farmers and find a middle ground, because by prohibiting something, we're not getting anywhere, and we're just preventing our people to get access to safe, affordable food, and preventing many other industries, like Fernando was just saying. It's not just about corn, it's about protein, it's about clothing, it's about oils, it's the whole chain, it's the food system, the whole food system. And we're preventing every actor in that food system to do a better job. We all want to feed a growing population. We all want to be able to give them better food and cheaper food, but high quality and with nutrition density that is proper to us. And disrupting that system as a whole is not going to get us anywhere. And the results may be challenging, especially now that farmers like myself are facing, you know, we have always depended on the weather. Now we have climate change. We were struggling with a drought at the beginning of this year and last year. And now we're struggling with very heavy rain. In my farm, we're just harvesting right now. And we're just looking for that little lapse of time where we can go in the crop and harvest it. And other friends in other states like Querétaro, Guanajuato, San Luis Potosí, Mexico, Tlaxcala, Puebla, they haven't been able to go in the crops and harvest because the soil is just too moist. You know, there's just water running everywhere. And we have to face that. And this is a technology that could help us deal at least with drought. We cannot do a lot with climate change as a whole, but also this technology may help us reduce GHG emissions. And why not do it? If it's so beneficial from a productive way, as well as an environmental aspect, why are not we doing it like now? You know, it's already too late, but we're very much in time to help farmers and to help consumers in Mexico and to help the whole government that wants to feed all those people with safe, affordable food.
Well, also, it seems like consensus. If the government wants to increase and be self-sufficient on the grains production, well, dude, it's a wrong way to ban the use of technology. So, as Gina says, probably the use of GMOs reduce the consumption of fertilizer. Fertilizers really harm the soils. It also reduces the use of irrigation. If people don't have enough capital to invest on irrigation systems, or the government don't have enough capital to invest in irrigation systems, well, one alternative could be the use of GMOs. If you don't want to use so many pesticides, the use of GMOs reduce the use of pesticides. So it really seems like it's more the public policy right now is more ideologically than technically or scientific proof. So I don't know how they believe that probably banning the import of grain seeds or the maize or soybean or cotton produced with GMO won't harm the environment. Probably the persons here in Mexico, when they saw that they can import legally the soybean or the cotton seed, they could be probably import in the black or create a black market for the import of those products. They will find a way to produce, and they will harm the environment and create a second market that could also increase the prices from the seed and increases all the prices from the chain of value. So it's controversial, it's ludicrous to believe that they prohibit or banning the use of one technology and the glyphosate create or development here in Mexico on the sustainable development. I don't know how they believe that.
Yeah, that's very concerning, and also like mentioning something that Gina did mention in the intervention is that the regulation is essential. I mean, yeah, anything is regulated, anything that is the way to ensure that is safe to use and safe to consumption. But something that is happening, and something that Fernando did mention, is that the regulation, mostly in Mexico, seems to be not completely science-based, but most ideological based and more like myths-based. So, and also this is something that is being very concerning, not just for farmers, but also I speaking as a scientist here in Mexico. Is something that is very concerning and very worrying about what is happening and how the current administration is dealing with both from basic research to investigation about GM crops, and most important with these all new tools that are arriving to Latin America, such as new breeding techniques that apparently in Mexico we are not going to be able to reach any of these new tools, and it's like this way that maybe the government is not using as the information available, or is just using the information that fits with the goals and with set of mind that they have with this administration. And also, I would like to ask the both of you if let's say that you are named to or invited to one of these conferences that our presidents have every morning, which will be like your advice to the current administration to maybe, yes, it's important to preserve the biodiversity and it's important to reach self-sufficiency, talking about food, but what is the best way to do it? Because as Fernando said, like banning the available tools that are available in the country right now is not the right way to do it. And so what would be like your comment about this, Gina?
First thing is just keep an open mind. Hear every single voice in the room, because every voice has something to say, and everyone, we can all contribute in some way, from scientists to farmers to the ones that are concerned, to consumers, to other agencies, other civil society, private sector. We all have to say something, and we all have an input on this project. And that's the first one. Keep an open mind and listen to everyone. And the second one is, you have to get your hands and your boots a little dirty, because if we want to mix our traditions with the new necessities that we have,
an ideology.
Yeah,
and also
but we have to do a lot of work, and we have to be able to analyze where it's appropriate to keep our traditions and where it is appropriate to adopt new technologies and new methods. You know, it's not going to be magically solved, you know, just by making a decree and saying anything in the morning every day. You have to do the work, and you have to see the viability of the project, where it is suitable and where it's not. But that takes a lot of work. And I don't see this or any previous governments like truly willing to do that work, because it's a lot. And by doing so, we could change so much of what Mexico is now, and help so many people, that farmers, especially small scale farmers, that if they could earn a little bit more money from the same work that they're doing now, they will of course, be willing to adopt new technologies, learn better practices, because that's the one thing, that's the other thing. We need to be able to communicate with the farmers and do training for those farmers, because it's not just give them the technology and let them do their job. Yes, because they do know how to do their job. They have been doing it for decades. In my family, we have been taking care of gas on our land for five generations. That is almost over 100 years. And we know how to do it. But in adopting a new technology, we all learn. We have to go through a learning process. And that is the other part of a very hard job that the government should be willing to do, not just say, take an idea and, well, an ideology, an agenda, and just support it. You have to take the ideology out of the question, out of the equation, and take ideas, investigation, innovation, investment into the account. You know, and that is very hard to do for a government that has their ideas set in stone, apparently.
Well, I have a few ideas to what to do. First of all, I will say the first to do is what the private sector are doing right now. They're using legal methods. They are fighting against the decree in the Supreme Court here in Mexico, and they are trying to explain to another power here in Mexico, that is the judicial power, to try to make them understand why are the reasons this prohibit or the ban of the use of GMOs or the import or the use of glyphosate are really harming the economy, and if harm the economy and also will reduce the availability of food here in Mexico. Probably they will be could be more sensitive in the short run, and they take it back, the enact decree that the president presented the last year. That could be one of the measures. Another measure that could be or could happen, it's the treaty with the United States, Mexico, and Canada signed recently, because it's really important for the United States government the export of maize to Mexico, because if I don't miss the recall, probably 2 years ago, when the governors and the Middle East and the Corn Belt sent a letter to the Secretary of Purdue, and they argued that the prohibit or the countermeasure that Mexico could apply during one problem we have with the tomatoes, prohibit the importing of using a duty to avoid the importing of grains from the Middle East, Midwest of the United States, will have with the 50% of GDP of any state of the Corn Belt, because the main export of Missouri, Illinois, Ohio, and those states are grains to Mexico. And we have here a question from Joan that says, what percentage of the corn or maize imports to Mexico are GMO? It's the 100%, because we import from the United States, we import from Argentina or from Brazil. So, and it's only 5 maize producer countries in the world that don't produce with GMOs. Those are Mexico, it's one in Africa, Venezuela, Guatemala, I believe, and I don't recall the another 2 ones. But we're in the little circle of the 5 countries that don't produce maize or another grains with GMOs. That's really amazing. That's probably many of you don't know, but we are like in the medieval times producing we have developed technology to suit for us. But if the complete world are producing with GMOs, why Mexico can't? Because ideology based on the native and the laws of the native seeds in Oaxaca or Puebla that are beautiful, have plenty of flavor. That it's a heritage for the world, but we have to move on. We have to find some places that the technology could be adapted. Probably would be in the north part of Mexico, or northeast or northwest, that they don't have native seeds. The native seeds are produced from the center of Mexico to the southeast of Mexico, southwest. So why don't try to apply technology in the places that won't harm the ecosystems or the nature ecosystems and the tradition that we are trying to keep, with the benefits of producing more grains or oil seeds that could decrease the number of the imports that we are doing right now. Also, the question from Joan says, well, Mexico is the second largest importer in the world. 70 million tons of maize are imported per year. We consume like 41 million of tons of maize per year. We produce between 27 to 25 million of tons per year. So yes, we are large importer, the largest importer in the world, and all of the imports since the lifetime probably are GMO, all the imports of maize.
Yeah.
There is another question that there is what argument are used by the CONACYT to justify the ban? Well, the ban is justified in two different works, one for the glyphosate and one from GMOs, most used by international organizations like Greenpeace, that demonstrate that the use of GMO can cause cancer, and also the use of glyphosate can cause cancer. But they are having some troubles with the math. And as those works are presented, or was presented in the last part of the 1990s, at the beginning of the 20s and the 2010 and recently, there are many articles that prove otherwise, that those articles that support or used to as support for the CONACYT to justify the ban, they are, as you know, science is and mathematics is not a complete or it's not as secure as we want, because we depend on data and we depend on how they perform the analysis and the sample they use. So probably it's not concluent the ideas in those papers that say they produce cancer or not produce cancer. Who knows? But if in probably 15 years, 16 years of the use of GMO and glyphosate, many people around the world are using and consuming and don't have really a big problems using. So why to ban?
Yeah, and I think that is something important, and something that maybe the CONACYT is not paying attention, is that it not matters what one of two scientific studies says. We need to take attention of what the scientific consensus says. And in that way, talking about GMOs, the scientific consensus says that they are safe, as and equal as the conventional crops that we've been eating over the last 100 to 200 years. And so I think that is something that we need to pay attention, and not to some scientific studies that maybe they got the highlights in the newspaper, and they always refer for anti-science activists, and most something that we all seen those images that stay in our minds forever about these scientific studies. But the reality is not an image or two images. The reality are the facts, and the facts say that are safe, and it's something that we need to. And also we have another question, and I will leave to.
Before you go into that question, Luis, we have to keep in mind that this technology is used in medicine. And it is incoherent that we accept this technology in vaccines. You know, the COVID-19 vaccine rollout was so quick because of this technology. And we use it as well in insulin. And Mexico is a country that has a lot of people with diabetes, dealing with diabetes. And we're not banning that technology because it's used on humans. I don't know. It's the same technology, it's the same logic, but somehow ideology separates both from production and food and consumption through our mouths, but not when we inject this safe, again, the key word is safe technology into our bodies when we need it. And we're not just using that technology in medicine just because. It's because it's safe.
It's regulated.
What?
It's regulated.
Exactly. It's about regulation. And the science evidence is there. The experience is also there. The knowledge is there. Why are not we accepting this technology in other areas of our life that also affect our lives? Without food, we won't live, as well as without medicine, many people will suffer. And we're facing a true difficult future in the next years if we don't do something about climate change, if we do not take sufficient action. And this technology may help us not only to be one of those actions that need to be taken, but also for farmers to face the challenges to come. But it's a safe technology, we're already using it, so why not apply it where it has to go? And yes, there are concerns that it would put in danger Mexican native biodiversity. That was one point in the last intervention. We have to do the work and see where it's suitable and where it's not. A healthy person does not inject insulin just because. You have to do the work and say that that person specifically needs that medicine and needs that insulin to go into their body. You're just not using any type of antibiotics or anything that goes into your body just because. It's the same principle when in things that go into the land. We're not just using glyphosate just because. We use it because we need it. We don't use fertilizer just because. We use it when we need it. And as well as a doctor makes a diagnosis of a patient, we have veterinarians, we have agronomists that do those diagnoses in our crops, in our livestock. And the science is there, and we have to be prepared as we have to have experts that are prepared to do those analysis and those diagnoses.
Okay, Luis, before moving, I have another intervention.
Yep.
Well, there is a case in the use, well, in the North African, that they use GMOs on rice. Probably you are familiarized with the study. Those studies present that the use of GMO with the high protein, because you can modify some aspects of the seed to obtain more protein, increase the growth of the poor people and also the performance in the school. So there is another part of the biotech that could also improve the life of poor people in Africa and the Southeast Asia, and is already proven that it's safe. And also, we have a few questions here from Nicholas. Nicholas is really active in the chat. And I will say a few things. First of all, the deforestation and the glyphosate is probably linked to extensive crops, monocrops. But let me tell you something. Here in Mexico, since probably 20 years ago, the size of the frontier of production, grain production, haven't moved anything. We are not deforesting anything. We're not opening more than the 20 million hectares we have to produce grains and other crops here in Mexico. So this is probably a lie that is suits or sounds in the speeches of some politicians or some environmental activists, but they are not true. You can see this public information in the SIAP. So going along with the ideas, you say that biology calls precautionary principle. Yes, we have to call a precautionary principle to free some GMOs. It's regulated on the GMO law enacted in 2010, if I don't recall, in my memory don't miss the year. It's yes, it's regulated, but it's not applied. The government right now, they're just because they believe on some ideology, they are not applying the law. They are enacting a decree. It's completely over the state of the rule here in Mexico. So if you want to prohibit something, you have to give us an alternative. And you say, yes, you have you have the agroecological transition. It sounds great, wonderful, but how, when? You have to induce the producer like Gina to know the process and to also adapt the technology or the agroecological systems in order to be adopted. You don't ban it, you induce. That's what the first world do, not those things that ban it because I believe in some ideology. No, you try to induce the people and to adapt, and you invest in the people, invest on technology, invest in the best practice, not prohibit. Soy in Campeche, well, it's part of the, yes, increases on the supply, but on the surface, yes, they increase. But I told you, if you see 24 million hectares of surface available for the production of grains and on other crops, they don't move because sometimes some places are live or like in the case of Zacatecas, instead of producing grains, they leave it and produce something else. And open Campeche, it's in a trade-off. Yes.
Yeah, well, thank you, Fernando, for addressing some of the questions that are already in the chat. And I just would like to ask about this question from Nicolas Garcia about the agroecological transition. And I think that, for example, let's imagine that tomorrow all Mexico move to an agroecological system. It's not going to be an answer for all the problems, as well as it's not going to be an answer if by tomorrow all Mexico is GM crops or gene editing crops or any of their available tool that is currently available in the world. But I think that it will be needed a mix between the available practices in food production that, for example, in some places works agroecological, it's okay, let's use it agroecological. In some places works GMO crops, let's use GMO crops. In some places works gene editing crops, let's use gene editing crops. In some places works another, I don't know, agroecological system, let's analyze, let's do it by safety, and let's use that agroecological system. But what is not right and what is not okay is to ban any agroecological system. So I think that is going to reduce the possibilities, not only to farmers to produce food and to be able to afford to support a family. I mean, it's also for the consumers that we want to eat 3 times a day. So I think that it's important to analyze all available tools and not to ban de facto a tool because we don't like it and because we have some misunderstanding of how the science works. So I don't know, Gina, you have any final comments?
That it's not just about corn or glyphosate. This goes way beyond those 2 issues. And think about the possibilities of biofortification. You have the case of golden rice, that it's fortified with vitamin A because it's a staple food for many, many, many countries. And that little technological tool will help people to be healthier, children not go blind by the age of 5 or 10. So this goes beyond corn, beyond glyphosate. It's not just those two issues. So to keep an open mind, you have to set aside those ideas because it's really not taking us anywhere. And think about the possibilities. We are already good in producing so much food in Mexico. Why not be better? And why not use technology and tools that will help us be even better and be more self-sufficient, be able to afford to reduce prices because we're yielding more and we're taking advantage of other countries that are yielding more so that we can import those results from them and learn from them. And they can also learn from us as it has happened before, you know. But think about the possibilities. This is not just about corn. It goes beyond that. And we will need this technology in years to come. So, you know, it is already difficult for a farmer to make ends meet, you know, every month, every season. It's getting harder. Help us do a better job and help us our job to make it easier. You know, we want to feed the people and we want to be better. We want to be more sustainable as well as productive. It is a whole package. Help us do our job and make it easier for us.
Yeah. Thank you, Gina. Fernando, do you have any final comments?
Yeah, final comments. The agriculture is not white or black. There is a lot of shades. And one of the things that I remember another quote from my years in the school says in the United States, no taxation with no representation. It's the same here. They have to take account the opinion of those who want to use technology and want to produce more and want to be more efficient and regulate it and work hand by hand. You don't have to take an unilateral position and probably affecting not only, as Gina said, it's not only glyphosate, it's not only grains, it's the chain of value, the capacity to produce more and in better conditions, to increase the income in the rural areas. There is many factors that should be considered in the policymakers right now, not just because they can agenda with an ideological position. Ideological, it's like the opium of the masses. There is no good way to apply ideological over the policy making based on science and proven. So I hope the government here in Mexico take another look, or probably the court on the Supreme Court here in Mexico and the United States, Canada, make this government to reflectionate about the wrong decision that we are making right now. And probably it will cost us 20 years to repair the damage that they are creating right now. We have to think in the long run, not just because in the short run on elections, we're talking to or basing the politics, sorry. So we have to see and be taller than we are right now.
Yes, well, thank you. On behalf of the Alliance for Science, I would like to say thank you for the both panelists, Fernando and Gina, to be here with us and to talk about this perspective about the consequences of the GM bans in crops in Mexico. And also thank you to all the people that follow the transmission and in the Facebook page, as well as in the Zoom transmission. So thank you very much, and continue following the Life on Science and social networks to future webinars. Thank you.